bars. We go to the top of the third. Juan Perez will lead things off, and joining us for a little bit tonight is the general manager of the Rockies, Josh Bridich. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I would imagine right now you feel pretty good about your right fielder and the good start, huh?
So far, so good. It's been a good game.
He is really unique in the game of baseball. There's a lot of talented guys, obviously. This is the best league in the world.
Right.
But he has the ability to do some things that very, very, very few guys can do.
Well, five-tool major league player, right?
Yeah.
And you know, his injury, his knee injury last year, certainly over the past couple years, really, that been bugging him, and finally needed the surgery. I mean, that robbed one of his tools, you know, and that affected his ability, obviously, to run around the bases and stretch singles into doubles and doubles into triples. It affected his play in the outfield at times. So you could, you know, watch tape of him last year in the second half, especially hobbling around the outfield. But he's healthy again, and he's showing the five tools again.
Yeah, he can stay on the backside. And I talked to him about this the other day. He thinks maybe one day he'll run again, but he just wants to make sure, get through this year and make sure the legs are healthy. But the tear he's on, again, there's very few players in the game that can do that sort of damage over a couple of month period.
He's been that type of player his whole career, right? With us, he's certainly a guy that can carry you and just literally carry a team for weeks at a time. And a lot of RBI, a lot of base hits, and a lot of good baseball. And he still has a lot of good baseball in him.
Absolutely. Juan Perez wiped out going from second to third. Good break for the Rockies, because I think you easily would have had a triple. So the first base runner for the Giants, a leadoff double in the third by Perez. What is on your menu right now? It's September as we look at this replay, but or I guess we'll bang the replay. But what's on your menu right now as a general manager with your inner circle? What are you focused on right now in these few weeks?
Some things don't change. Some things stay the same in terms of our evaluations and the things that we keep track of on a daily, weekly, monthly basis specific to our team. Something specific to the NL, something specific to the league as a whole, and how we measure up. You know, a lot of things scouting wise, from both an amateur and a professional perspective. You know, there's still a lot of scouting to be done, and so those things don't change. But you know, based on where we're at now, and sitting here 24 games under, as difficult as that is, one thing it does do is provide an opportunity to see a number of our younger players, or guys that haven't had a lot of time up here this year, that are on the roster, and you know, we'll get to see what they have for us here over the next few games.
Well, you brought up some guys, and you know, a lot of people were excited about maybe seeing a Trevor Story. Is that a possibility, or is that more something that is still, you know, spring training next year type of thing?
Well, we're going to let the AAA season end, and then we'll make a final determination. You know, there are roster spot considerations, and there's more to it that goes in. It's not as simple as it might seem. So, but we'll let things finish up, and then we'll make our final decisions. You know, after the 7th, once the AAA season's done.
When you have a season, and the Rockies have had, unfortunately, a few in a row like this, where you're going to lose 90+ games in all likelihood, sometimes you say, oh man, the whole thing is broken. When in fact, when you look out and you look at a DJ LeMahieu, you look at a Nolan Arenado, you look at your right fielder who we were just talking about, there's some pieces there. From your perspective, how far away, and I know you can't look in a crystal ball and say, hey, this is when we're going to be a 90+ win team again, but how far away do you think it can be if you get some breaks on the mound?
Well, I think there are two different answers to that. I think to be the type of team at this level that we desire to be and expect to be, which is a 90+ win team, it's tough to say that we're just one or two simple moves away from that, right? I think there's a different reality. But if you look at the second answer to it, you look at the reality of the second wild card and how our playoffs are structured now, you don't have to be a 95 win team to get into the playoffs. You can be a mid to high 80s win team and fighting your butt off every day down the stretch here in August, September, and have legitimate chances to win. And so there's kind of that two different realities there.
Sure.
And I think you have to respect both. And I think ultimately we're aspiring to be that 90+ win team you know, for year after year, and it still might take a little bit of time to do that.
So much of it, Jeff, to me, has always been, I call it baseball symmetry. You can have the position players, and maybe you're short on the mound, or maybe you have a really nice staff, but you're short in your ability to score runs.
Yep.
And it all has to come together to some degree.
Yep.
Well, that's a pretty good swing by Vogelsoft, deep right center field. He just hit it out. Madison Bumgarner didn't jump in his uniform, did he?
Wow.
Ryan Vogelsong, who came in hitting 113, just went oppo, 2-run home run. And he gives the Giants a big-time lift here in the third. That was not expected. In the battle of pitchers tonight and their exploits at the plate, you give a big advantage going into Chris Russin. Watch Russin's reaction. He knew he hung a
bad pitch.
Yeah, he hung it out over the plate. And now it's 4-2 with one out, and Angel Pagan coming up. But you guys look at that, the baseball symmetry part, where you look and you say, okay, you know, this guy's going to be a free agent in 2 years. This guy's going to be a free agent in 2 years. Our pitching is still real young, and we're trying to push it along. How do you overcome that?
Philosophically, it really comes down to your philosophy. I mean, overcoming it is one thing, you know, and one way of looking at it, but utilizing that and knowing what you have and how you might take advantage of it is another. I think the Astros are a pretty good example of that. The Astros are a very young team, and there's a lot of guys that are learning together at the major league level on that team, and they believe in that, and they've figured out ways to make that work for them.
And they've gotten some guys who aren't necessarily power guys to lead their staff. Colin McHugh had a cup of coffee here briefly. Dallas Keuchel's been lights out. They don't light up a radar gun, either one of those two guys.
Right. No, they don't. And they pitch and they execute pitches, and they change speeds, and they disrupt hitters' timing and balance. And you know, there's defensively they shift like crazy.
Yep.
More so than any other organization in the game. And they think they found some things that make sense for them in terms of how they've tried to put together that team. You know, it's a team that strikes out a lot. It's a team that hits a lot of home runs, but they also walk a lot, and they have a lot of high on base percentage. And you know, so it's not like they have 25 perfect players all the time.
Right.
The combination works, and it can work for us. It has in the past. Look at 07.
From a starting pitching standpoint, peeking ahead, it's going to be another base hit. Pagan a base hit, now Kelby Tomlinson a base hit. So Russin, as good as he was the first two, scuffling here in the third. 2 runs in, 2 men on, and Matt Duffy coming up, one of the best looking rookies in the game this year. Where's the organization right now from a starting pitching standpoint, looking forward to having some impact guys, you know, that you can run out every 5th day at this level?
Some of those guys are on a deal. Tyler Chatwood threw 2 innings yesterday, his first competitive in-game type of scenario in a long time. It's good to see. He feels great today. So, I mean, there's positives there. And Jordan Lyles continues to have freakish type of injuries, and he's really done pretty well when he's been healthy. It's just that he hasn't been healthy all that much. It's been a tough go with some odd injuries. So those are the 2 names looking forward. You know, breaking John Gray into the bigs this year. You know, and obviously there's limitations on what he's going to do this year, but all that is in preparation for his future. You know, still Eddie Butler, Tyler Anderson, who is getting healthy and going to have a chance to compete as a starter next year. He's a legitimate strike thrower and a winner. You know, there's more that we can talk about later. I mean, there's younger guys, the Hoffmans, the Senzatellas, Freeland. I mean, there's Musgrave. There's guys that are developing and you know, possibly coming onto the scene here that are at their highest levels already.
All right, you know, we'll pick up on that subject when we come back. Rockies up 4-2.